The diplomatic summit aboard Concordia Station was meant to be the pinnacle of Dr. Ethan Cole's career. For 6 relentless years, he had buried himself in Zen anthropological studies, poring over preliminary reports about every known species in the Galactic Concord. The Ithari were the latest edition elegant, enigmatic newcomers who had emerged from a long isolation. In the Orion Arm, first contact with them promised a treasure trove of data, social structures, emotional frameworks, even biological quirks that could redefine human understanding of sentience. Ethan had memorized every briefing packet, rehearsed polite gestures until his hands cramped, and drilled himself on maintaining perfect emotional neutrality. The Ithari, he knew, were empathic. Not mind readers, they couldn't pluck thoughts from skulls, but they experienced emotions as vivid, almost physical phenomena, like waves of heat or color washing over them. Strong feelings unsettled them, the briefings stressed. Humans, with their volatile psyches, were advised to keep reactions muted, professional, contained. Ethan was good at containment. He had observed Clithian mating rituals without flinching, documented Voran grief ceremonies with clinical precision, and never once let personal bias color his notes. He was 34, single by choice, and convinced that romance was a distraction best left in novels and fools. On the day of the reception, he positioned himself at the edge of the grand hall, tablet in hand, recording subtle Ithari group dynamics, the way their luminescent skin pulsed in synchronized patterns during conversation, the fluid deference in their postures when addressing elders. The hall buzzed with dozens of species-scaled diplomats, feathered translators, even a few floating gas-bag observers from the outer rims. Ethan felt the familiar thrill of discovery, tempered by discipline. Then she entered. The far doors parted with a soft pneumatic sigh, and Lashara stepped through. Ethan didn't know her name yet. He would learn it moments later from a whispered aid. But in that instant, the universe compressed. She was tall, easily 7 feet, her form willowy yet strong, as if carved from light itself. Her skin glowed with an inner luminescence, shifting through pearlescent hues, soft ivory 1 second, rose gold the next, like moonlight trapped in opal. Her hair cascaded in silver-white waves that moved with unnatural grace, defying the station's artificial gravity, floating gently as though she swam through invisible currents. Her face was symmetry perfected, high cheekbones, a delicate nose, full lips that curved in perpetual subtle invitation. But her eyes, those eyes destroyed him. They were living nebulae, swirling with blues, greens, silvers, and flecks of starlight that seemed to pulse with independent life. Ethan's heart lurched violently against his ribs. His breath snagged, refused to release. Heat flooded his face, his chest, every inch of skin. It wasn't mere attraction. It was cataclysmic. A force like planetary gravity had reversed itself, yanking every atom in his body toward her. His knees weakened. He gripped the railing to stay upright. Thoughts fragmented. Protocol, detachment, professionalism all evaporated. This was love at first sight, the ridiculous trope he had always mocked in old Earth literature. He had dismissed it as chemical trickery, pheromones plus cultural conditioning. Now he understood it was real, primal, unstoppable. His pulse thundered so loudly he was sure the entire hall could hear it. Across the crowded space, through the swirl of diplomats and aides, Lashara's head turned. Her gaze sliced directly to him, precise as a laser. The swirling colors in her eyes sharpened, focusing. Her skin flickered rapidly gold pink, violet rapid pulses Ethan had never seen documented in any briefing. She paused mid-step, then began moving toward him, gliding with that impossible Ithari fluidity, parting the crowd without effort. Ethan's horror rose in tandem with his infatuation. She had felt it. Of course she had. His emotion had erupted like a supernova in her empathic field, bright, singular, unmistakable. He tried to clamp down on it, to force calm through sheer willpower. Breathe. Think of data. Think of anything else. But every attempt failed because she was closer now, more radiant, and his body refused to obey. She stopped a respectful distance away, perhaps 2 meters, standard for Athari personal space. But to Ethan, it felt intimate, electric. Up close, her presence was overwhelming. A faint scent like ozone after rain, mixed with something floral and alien. Her eyes studied him, curious, not repelled. Her head tilted slightly, silver hair drifting like silken water. "You are experiencing an intense emotional response," she said. Her voice was music given for melodious, layered, resonating in his chest. No accusation, only genuine intrigue. "Directed toward me specifically. This feeling is, what do humans name it?" Ethan's mouth opened, closed. Words had abandoned him. He was a doctor of Zen anthropology, published in 3 journals, and he couldn't form a sentence. Lashara waited, patient, her skin shifting through thoughtful shades of azure and silver. "I apologize," he finally croaked. "I didn't mean to project that. Your people find strong human emotions uncomfortable. I was warned." "You have not caused discomfort," she interrupted gently. "Surprise, perhaps. Clarity, certainly. Your emotion is remarkably pure. Most humans we meet broadcast tangled storms, anxiety braided with curiosity, fear laced with wonder. Yours is singular, focused, like a beam of coherent light." She paused, colors rippling across her cheeks. "What is it called?" Ethan swallowed. Lying to an empath was futile. She would sense the dissonance. "Attraction," he said. "Physical. Emotional attraction. Humans sometimes feel it instantly, upon first seeing someone. It's not always rational." "Attraction," she repeated, tasting the word. "Based on visual stimulus alone? We have shared no conversation, no shared experience. Yet you feel this draw?" "Yes." His voice steadied slightly. "Honesty seemed the only path. It's rare, but it happens. We call it love at first sight, though that's poetic. Scientifically, it's an overwhelming biochemical response, dopamine, oxytocin surge, heightened arousal. Not logical." Lashara's eyes brightened, greens and golds swirling faster. "Fascinating. In Athari experience, bonding forms gradually through emotional resonance, shared vulnerability over time. Instant fixation is unknown to us. Yet here it is clear, powerful, undiluted." She stepped fractionally closer. Ethan's pulse spiked again. "Does this attraction typically lead to deeper connection in humans? To partnership?" "It can," he managed, "but often it fades. Or it's unreciprocated, or complicated by circumstances, such as interspecies diplomacy?" She asked, a hint of amusement coloring her tone and her skin lighter blues threaded with gold. Ethan laughed despite himself, short and shaky. "Exactly." She regarded him for a long moment. "I am Lashara Veltharis, cultural liaison for the Athari delegation, and you are?" "Dr. Ethan Cole, Zen anthropologist. Here to observe and document." "Dr. Cole." She spoke his name like a melody. "Your emotion intrigues me. It does not overwhelm or repel. It illuminates. I would like to understand it better. Would you consent to further conversation? Perhaps over tea in the observation lounge. I find myself curious about this human phenomena." Ethan stared. She wasn't recoiling. She wasn't offended. She was scientifically interested in him, in his ridiculous, irrational feelings. His career brain screamed caution. Boundaries, protocols, objectivity. His heart screamed something else entirely. "I would be honored," he said. Lashara's skin bloomed with warm pinks and golds. "Then let us begin." As they walked side by side toward the lounge, Ethan realized 2 things with absolute certainty. First, his life had just veered irrevocably off its planned trajectory. Second, he didn't care. Not even a little. The observation lounge overlooked the slow, majestic rotation of Earth below them, blue marble streaked with white clouds, a living jewel suspended in black. Ethan had seen the view countless times during his years on Concordia Station, yet tonight it felt new, almost sacred. Perhaps it was the company. Lashara sat across from him at the small circular table, her long fingers wrapped delicately around a cup of steaming chamomile tea, an earth blend the station's galley had prepared specially for the human delegation. She had requested it after Ethan mentioned it soothed nerves. The irony wasn't lost on him. He was the one whose nerves needed soothing. They had been talking for nearly 2 hours. Conversation flowed easier than Ethan had any right to expect. Lashara asked precise, thoughtful questions about human emotional architecture, how attraction could ignite without prior emotional exchange, how it could persist even when logic screamed incompatibility, how it sometimes led to poetry, music, art, and sometimes to spectacular disasters. Ethan answered as honestly as he could, occasionally stumbling when her gaze locked onto his, and the colors in her eyes shifted in response to his words. Every time he felt a fresh surge of warmth or admiration, her skin responded instantly. Soft pinks when he complimented her curiosity, deeper violets when he admitted vulnerability, steady golds when he spoke with passion about his work. "You describe love as both gift and curse," she observed, tilting her head. A strand of silver hair drifted across her cheek. She didn't brush it away. "Yet you have chosen solitude for many cycles. Why?" Ethan exhaled slowly, staring into his own untouched tea. "Because the gift usually comes with too many strings. I've watched colleagues fall hard, build lives, then watch those lives fracture under cultural pressures, career demands, distance. Zen anthropology isn't exactly conducive to stable relationships. I travel, I observe, I document, I don't belong anywhere long enough to risk the curse part." Lashara's luminescence dimmed slightly, not dimmed in brightness, but in warmth, shifting toward thoughtful silver blues. "Among my people, isolation is rare and considered a wound. We bond in clusters, family, clan, mate group. Solitude is something one endures during grief or penance, never by choice." She paused. "Your choice feels deliberate. A shield." He met her eyes. "Maybe, but it kept me focused. Until tonight." Her colors brightened again, rose threading through the silver. "And now?" "Now I'm sitting across from an Athari diplomat who can literally see how much I want to kiss you. And I'm still trying to pretend this is a normal professional exchange." Lashara laughed a sound like wind, chimes tuned to a minor key, soft and startlingly delighted. "You are refreshingly direct when embarrassment peaks. It is endearing." She leaned forward slightly. "Among Athari, physical intimacy follows emotional synchronization. We do not kiss until the resonance is mutual and stable. But curiosity is permitted. May I touch your hand?" Ethan's breath caught. He extended his hand across the table, palm up. Lashara placed her fingers lightly against his cool at first, then warming rapidly as though drawing heat from his skin. A faint tingle spread up his arm, not unpleasant, almost electric. Her eyes flared with complex patterns, spiraling greens, pulsing ambers, threads of deep indigo. "Your emotional signature is extraordinary," she murmured. "So focused, so directed, like sunlight through a lens. Most humans feel like scattered starlight, beautiful, but diffuse. Yours burns." Ethan swallowed. "Is that bad?" "No, it is rare. And intense." She withdrew her hand slowly, reluctantly. "It resonates within me. I feel echoes of it, curiosity becoming fascination, fascination becoming something warmer." He dared to ask, "Do Athari ever feel romantic attraction to other species?" "It has happened," she said carefully. "Rarely, when it does, it is treated with great seriousness. Our biology is not incompatible with most humanoid forms. Genetic drift makes cross-fertility improbable, but not impossible in many cases, but emotional compatibility is the true barrier. Humans are volatile, passionate. We fear being overwhelmed. And yet you're still here, because your passion does not seek to consume. It seeks to share." Her skin flushed a deep, warm coral. "I find I wish to know more about you, about this feeling." They talked longer about childhoods on opposite sides of the galaxy, about favorite musics, She adored human classical strains. He confessed a weakness for Ithari harmonic chants, about fears, hers, losing the ability to feel others clearly. His never truly being seen. Hours slipped away. The lounge gradually emptied until only the soft glow of emergency lighting remained. Eventually, Lashara rose. The delegation will reconvene soon. I must return. Ethan stood too, heart pounding. Will I see you again, outside official channels? She studied him for a long moment. I would like that. Very much. Then, with deliberate grace, she reached out and brushed the back of her fingers along his cheek, just a feather-like contact, yet it sent heat racing through every nerve. Your emotion lingers on my skin. I will carry it until tomorrow. She left, gliding toward the lift. Ethan remained rooted, cheek burning where she had touched him, mind reeling. He had come to the summit expecting data. Instead, he had stumbled into something far more dangerous, possibility. The next 3 days blurred into a delicate dance of stolen moments, amid the chaos of first contact negotiations. They met in quiet corners of the station maintenance corridors where few ventured, the hydroponics garden at shift change when the lights dimmed to mimic dusk, even once in the zero-gravity observation bubble where stars wheeled slowly overhead. Each meeting deepened the connection. Lashara taught him how to read Ithari's skin tones more accurately. Rapid violet pulses meant surprise, slow gold waves contentment, sudden crimson flashes arousal or anger. Ethan, in turn, explained human micro-expressions, the way a slight tightening around the eyes betrayed hidden pain, the quick upward curve of lips signaling genuine joy rather than politeness. Physical contact grew incrementally bolder. A hand held for longer periods, shoulders brushing as they walked. Once, in the hydroponics garden surrounded by blooming night jasmine from Earth and glowing crystal ferns from her homeworld, she allowed him to trace the luminescent patterns along her forearm. The skin there felt like warm silk over living light. When he touched her, the patterns brightened and followed his fingertips, as though painting themselves in response. You are mapping me, she teased. I'm trying to understand, he replied seriously. Every shift, every color its language. I want to speak it. Her eyes swirled with affection. You already do. Better than most, but challenges loomed. Whispers began circulating among the human delegation. Dr. Cole was spending unusual amounts of time with the Ithari liaison. Tongues wagged, professionalism, objectivity, conflict of interest. Ethan's superior, Dr. Miriam Voss, pulled him aside after the 3rd day. You're walking a very thin line, Ethan. She's not just any contact, she's a ranking diplomat. If this becomes personal, it could jeopardize the entire treaty process. I know the risks, he said quietly. Do you? Because from where I'm standing, you look like a man falling. He didn't deny it. Meanwhile, Lashara faced her own pressures. Ithari elders noticed the unusual warmth in her coloration whenever Dr. Cole's name arose in conversation. They summoned her for private counsel. Attachment to a human is fraught, Elder Tharian warned. Their emotions flare and fade like solar storms. You risk destabilization. I am not destabilized, Lashara replied calmly. I am. Illuminated, the elder's skin flickered with concern. Be certain, the Concord watches. One misstep and trust fractures. She bowed in acknowledgement but did not retreat. On the 4th evening, they met in Ethan's private quarters, technically against protocol, but the treaty negotiations entered their most delicate phase. The Galactic Concord had convened a closed plenary session to finalize the Ithari Integration Protocol's trade routes, cultural exchange quotas, mutual defense clauses, and the sensitive matter of empathic privacy safeguards. Every delegation sat at the vast circular table in the primary chamber, holographic star maps rotating slowly overhead like a living galaxy. Ethan was present only as an observer, seated in the tiered gallery among other Zen specialists. His role was documentation, not decision-making. Yet every time Lashara spoke, her voice calm, measured, Carrying effortlessly through the acoustics, he felt the words land in his chest like physical weight. She wore formal Ethari regalia today, flowing robes of translucent silk that caught and refracted station lights into prismatic halos, the fabric embroidered with subtle bioluminescent threads that pulsed in time with her heartbeat. When she rose to address concerns about emotional transparency clauses, her skin glowed steady gold, threaded with confident emerald colors Ethan had come to recognize as unshakable resolve. "The Ethari propose reciprocal safeguards," she said. "Humans will train in basic emotional dampening techniques. Ethari will install voluntary filtering implants for high-stress diplomatic environments. Trust must flow both directions." Murmurs rippled through the human contingent. Some nodded approval. Others, particularly the security-minded advisors, frowned. One delegate, Ambassador Harlan Reed, leaned forward. "And if filtering fails? If an Ethari inadvertently broadcasts classified human sentiment during negotiation? We cannot risk strategic leakage based on biology alone." Lashara's colors shifted, brief silver flickers of restrained irritation. "Biology is not leakage, Ambassador. It is perception. We have offered technological mitigation. The alternative, forced emotional suppression for our entire delegation, would be equivalent to asking humans to negotiate." Blindfolded, the chamber tensed. Ethan's hands clenched on the railing. He wanted to stand, to speak, to defend her logic with anthropological evidence. But protocol bound him silent. After the session adjourned, he found her in a private antechamber reserved for delegation breaks. She stood alone by a viewport, gazing at the distant curve of Luna. Her shoulders were rigid, skin muted to pale quartz gray, an Ethari sign of emotional exhaustion. "Lashara," she turned. The moment their eyes met, her colors warmed slightly soft rose, bleeding back into the gray. "Ethan, you should not be here. Eyes are everywhere. I know. I just needed to see you're all right." She exhaled, a sound like distant chimes. "I am intact. But the distrust stings. Humans fear what they cannot control. My people fear being reduced to surveillance tools." He stepped closer, still within professional distance, but close enough that she could feel his steady concern wrapping around her like a blanket. "Not all of us. I don't fear you. I never have." Her eyes searched his. "You are the exception. And even you must navigate suspicion now." He nodded grimly. "Dr. Voss called me in again this morning. She's received anonymous tips photos, timestamps of us together in the gardens, the lounge. Nothing explicit, but enough to raise flags. She warned me, one more incident, and I'm off the project. Reassigned to a desk on Earth." Lashara's skin flickered violet surprise, then sorrow. "I did not wish to endanger your career." "You didn't. I chose this." He reached out, hesitated, then gently took her hand. Her fingers curled around his immediately. "We're not doing anything wrong. We're exploring something new. Something that could actually strengthen interspecies understanding. Or fracture it," she countered softly. "If they believe I am manipulating you, or you compromising security for personal gain, the treaty could collapse." Ethan squeezed her hand. "Then we prove them wrong. We stay transparent where it matters, discreet where we must. And we keep going." She studied him a long moment. Her thumb traced slow circles over his knuckles, a small, intimate gesture that sent warmth flooding through him. "Your certainty resonates. It steadies me." Then quieter. "I have been summoned before the Ethari Council again tonight. They wish to assess whether my attachment compromises objectivity." His stomach dropped. "What will you tell them?" "The truth. That your emotion is unlike any I have encountered, pure, directed, selfless. That it does not seek to dominate or extract, only to connect. That I feel the beginnings of resonance in return." Her colors deepened to rich amber and rose. "And that I do not wish to sever it." Ethan's throat tightened. "I don't either." They stood in silence, hands linked, until the soft chime of an approaching aide forced them apart. Lashara released him reluctantly. "Meet me tonight. Zero gravity bubble, after second shift." Fewer sensors there. I'll be there. She left first, robes trailing light like comet tails. Ethan waited several minutes before departing, heart hammering with equal parts fear and fierce determination. That night, in the dim starlit bubble, they floated together, untethered, weightless, bodies drifting in slow orbits around each other. No gravity to pull them apart, no artificial down to orient them. Only the vast black and the slow wheel of constellations. Lashara reached for him first. She drew him close until their foreheads touched, silver hair mingling with his dark strands and lazy drifts. "I told the council everything," she whispered. "They are divided. Some see potential for deeper alliance through personal bonds. Others see only risk. What did they decide? No formal prohibition yet, but a warning. If any breach occurs, I will be recalled immediately. And you," she trailed off. "They'll bar me from Athari contact," he finished. "Yes." Ethan cupped her face, thumbs brushing the luminous curves of her cheekbones. "Then we don't give them a breach. We document this carefully, scientifically. My observations, your insights. We turn what we feel into data that proves cross-species bonding is possible, beneficial. Not threat, but bridge." Her eyes swirled with complex emotion, hope, fear, affection. "You would expose your heart to scrutiny? For records? For politics?" "For us," he corrected. "And maybe for something bigger." She kissed him, then slow, deep, weightless. In zero gravity, their bodies pressed together without resistance, heat building between them like a contained star. Hands roamed with new boldness, his tracing the glowing ridges along her spine, hers sliding beneath his shirt to map the rapid beat of his heart. When they parted, both were flushed as skin pink with blood rush, hers blazing coral and gold. "I want more than stolen moments," she breathed against his lips. "I want time, shared space. A chance to let resonance grow without fear." "So do I." They floated in silence a while, bodies entwined, watching Earth turn beneath them. Then Lashara stiffened slightly. "Someone is coming," Ethan tensed. Through the transparent bubble wall, he saw 2 security officers approaching along the corridor, human, uniformed, faces stern. "Dr. Cole," one called through the comm panel. "You're needed in security, immediately." Lashara's colors flashed sudden crimson anger, protectiveness. "This is harassment. Protocol," the officer replied flatly. Ambassador Reed filed a formal concern. Emotional entanglement with foreign nationals during active negotiations. Ethan disentangled slowly, reluctantly. "I'll go." "It's fine." "It is not fine," Lashara said, voice low and fierce. "They seek to separate us before resonance can solidify." He kissed her forehead quickly. "They won't succeed, I promise." Security escorted him away. Lashara remained in the bubble, glowing dimly, colors muted once more to anxious silver gray. The interrogation room was stark white walls, metal table, recording drones humming overhead. Dr. Vos sat beside Ambassador Reed. Both looked grim. "Ethan," Vos began, "we have evidence of repeated unauthorized contact, private meetings, physical intimacy. This violates every guideline for first contact personnel. I haven't compromised any classified information," he said evenly. "I haven't leaked protocols. I haven't influenced her position." Reed leaned forward. "You don't have to. Your judgment is compromised." "That's enough," Voss sighed. "We're reassigning you to Earth. Immediate transport. You'll be debriefed fully, then placed on administrative leave pending review." Ethan's jaw clenched. "You're making a mistake. What's happening between us isn't manipulation. It's genuine. And it could be the key to real understanding, something no treaty clause can force. Or it could be the lever that breaks the treaty," Reed countered. "We can't take the chance." They dismissed him to pack. As he walked the corridors back to his quarters, mind racing, a soft chime sounded in his private encrypted channel. Lashara's voice, quiet but resolute. "I have spoken again with my elders. They will propose an emergency motion tomorrow. Observer status for you on the Ithari delegation. Scientific liaison, officially sanctioned. If it passes, you remain. If it fails, I will request recall and follow you to Earth. Ethan stopped dead in the hallway. You'd give up your position for me? For us, for what we could become. Tears stung his eyes, unexpected, fierce. Lashara, sleep if you can, she said gently. Tomorrow decides much. He reached his quarters, lay on the narrow bunk, staring at the ceiling. Sleep refused to come. Instead, certainty settled over him like gravity returning after too long in freefall. Whatever happened in that chamber tomorrow, he would not let them end this. Not politics, not fear, not distance. He would fight for her, for them, for the fragile, improbable bridge they had begun to build between two wildly different species. And somewhere across the station, in her own quarters, Lashara lay awake as well, skin pulsing slow waves of determined gold, whispering to the dark, resonance will hold. The plenary chamber was packed beyond capacity the next morning. Extra seating had been dragged in. Observers lined the walls, aides hovered at doorways, and even the floating gas-bag diplomats from the outer rims had squeezed their containment fields into corners. Tension hung thick as ionized air. The emergency motion, proposed by the Ithari delegation to grant Dr. Ethan Cole official observer liaison status, was on the floor. Every delegation would vote. A simple majority would decide whether Ethan stayed or was shipped back to Earth on the next shuttle. Ethan sat in the gallery, hands clasped so tightly his knuckles blanched. He wore his formal uniform crisp navy tunic, insignia of the Xenological Institute, but felt naked under the scrutiny. Across the chamber, Lashara stood among her delegation, robes shimmering with restrained light. Their eyes met once. She offered the smallest nod, skin pulsing steady gold. It was enough to steady his breathing. Ambassador Reed rose first to speak against the motion. His voice carried the practiced weight of decades in corridors of power. This is unprecedented. Granting observer status to a human scientist based on personal attachment sets a dangerous precedent. It risks bias, emotional leverage, and the integrity of the entire Concord process. We must protect the treaty from complications. Murmurs of agreement from several human-aligned delegations. A few scaled Clithians hissed softly in support. Elder Therian, senior Ithari representative, countered next. His voice resonated like deep bells. Complications already exist. Humans and Ithari are negotiating not merely trade or defense, but mutual existence in shared space. Emotional resonance is our biology's truth. To ignore a genuine cross-species bond is to blind ourselves deliberately. Dr. Cole has demonstrated restraint, professionalism, and intellectual integrity throughout. His presence strengthens understanding, not weakens it. More murmurs, this time mixed. Some delegations leaned forward with interest. Others crossed arms in skepticism. Lashara was called to speak. She stepped to the center podium, skin glowing with calm emerald confidence. I will be direct. Dr. Cole's initial emotional projection toward me was instantaneous and powerful, what humans term love at first sight. I felt it as clearly as starlight on skin. Rather than recoil, I chose curiosity. Over days of careful interaction, that curiosity has deepened into mutual resonance. It is not manipulation. It is not compromise. It is the first documented instance of spontaneous emotional synchronization between our species. She paused, letting the words settle. If we reject this bond out of fear, we signal that cross-cultural intimacy is threat rather than opportunity. We are better than fear. We must be. Silence followed, profound, electric. Then applause began, slow at first from the Ithari side, then spreading. Feathered translators clapping delicate wings, gas bags pulsing in rhythmic approval, even a few humans nodding thoughtfully. The vote was called. One by one, delegations registered. Green for approval, red for denial. The holographic tally board above the table ticked upward. Ethan watched, pulse thundering. When the human delegation's light flashed green narrowly, 7-6 relief nearly buckled his knees. The final tally, 62% approval. The chamber erupted. Lashara's colors blazed triumphant rose gold. She looked straight at Ethan, eyes swirling with joy so vivid it felt like touch. Later, in the aftermath chaos, handshakes, backslaps, hurried press statements, Ethan found her in the same antechamber where they had first spoken privately. She turned as he entered. The door sealed behind him with a soft click. They didn't speak at first. She crossed the distance in 3 gliding steps and pulled him into an embrace. Her arms wrapped around him, fully strong, warm, alive with light. He buried his face against her shoulder, inhaling ozone and flowers, feeling the rapid flutter of her heartbeat against his chest. "You stayed," she whispered. "You fought for it," he replied, voice rough. They parted just enough to look at each other. Her thumb traced his jawline. His hand cupped the luminous curve of her neck. "The treaty is signed tomorrow," she said. "After that, we have options. The Athari have offered a joint cultural research station in Neutral Space Orbit 7, near the arm's edge. Small team, mixed species. You could lead the human contingent. I could serve as Athari liaison." Ethan's breath caught. "Permanent posting?" "As permanent as stars allow. Years, perhaps decades. Together." He searched her eyes, those living nebulae, and found only certainty. "Yes," he said simply. "God, yes." She kissed him, then fierce, unhurried, pouring every shade of her emotion into the contact. When they broke apart, both were glowing. His skin flushed with heat, hers blazing in waves of coral, gold, and violet joy. "There is one more thing," she murmured. "Among Athari, when resonance reaches harmony, we formalize it. Not with rings or contracts, but with shared luminescence, a permanent imprint. Our bioluminescence adapts, carrying a trace of the other's signature forever." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "So I'd glow?" "A subtle aura, visible only in low light or to empaths. A mark of belonging." He considered it, imagined faint silver threads shimmering across his skin when they touched, a quiet proof of what they had built. "I want that," he said. "When you're ready." "When we're ready." Her smile was radiant. "Then we wait only for the right moment." The treaty signing was a spectacle. Representatives from 37 species gathered under the Great Dome, holographic seals flashing into existence one after another. Athan stood at the edge of the human delegation, officially now Liaison Cole. Lashara stood opposite, part of the Athari line. Their eyes met across the crowd. Private promise amid public ceremony. Afterward, celebration spilled into every lounge and corridor. Music played, human strings blending with Athari harmonics. Food from a dozen worlds circulated on floating trays. Ethan and Lashara moved through it together, hands brushing, shoulders touching, no longer hiding. In the quiet hours before dawn station time, they slipped away to the zero-gravity bubble once more. This time they tethered loosely to the wall, floating in gentle orbit, wrapped in each other. Lashara pressed her palm to his chest. "May I begin the imprint?" He nodded. She closed her eyes. A soft glow built between them, warm, golden, threading from her skin into his. It didn't hurt. It felt like sunlight soaking into bone. When she opened her eyes again, faint silver-blue filaments shimmered across his forearms, his collarbone delicate, beautiful, unmistakably hers. Ethan lifted his hand, watching the light play. "It's us." "Yes." She traced one of the threads with her fingertip. It brightened at her touch, and it will grow with time. With every shared moment. He pulled her close, bodies aligning weightlessly. They kissed slowly, deeply, letting the stars witness what gravity never could contain. Years later, though to them it would feel like moments stretched across eternity, they would look back on that first sight across a crowded hall and marvel. A single glance had rewritten 2 lives, bridged 2 species, and perhaps nudged the galaxy a fraction closer to understanding itself. Love at first sight, once dismissed as myth, had proven itself real. And in its quiet, persistent glow, Harmony was forged, not perfect, not without trials, but enduring. They drifted together in the starlight, hands linked, lights entwined, two hearts beating in near-perfect rhythm. And the universe, vast and indifferent, noticed just a little.
Yo soy Iván. ¿Se puede entrar el casco? Sí. Hola, Renkeror. ¿Qué pedo, güey? ¿Por qué están...? Yo soy Iván, Iván. Iván H, ¿va? Gracias.
Espejito, espejito, ¿quién es el más drogadicto?
¡Ya!
Pero mi pedido estoy... Cita.
Se empalman las alertas, güey. Controlen sus cartas y sus sonidos porque luego después se van a emputar. Y ahí ya no sé nada yo. Venga, tu madre, qué puto calor hace acá. Mames, güey. ¡Por fin! Oh, estaba mejor estar allá adentro en la sombrita, compadre. Oh, no mames.
Simeón de guión bajo quiere que te sientas en la banqueta por 15 segundos.
Ay, no seas pendejo, güey. Estás viendo que ya traigo taza de... ...15... Listo. Se va a quemar el culo. Sí, güey. Listo. Chicos, creo que estamos en portada de Twitch. Bienvenidos a toda la gente que viene de España, a toda la gente que viene de Latinoamérica en general. Muchas gracias a Twitch por la oportunidad.
No te derrotes, bombón, ni satjaye.
No me derrito, bombón. En teoría somos como 600 viewers. Bienvenidos a todos, soy de León, Guanajuato. Suelo hacer delivery, suelo hacer fotógrafo de modas. Vamos a pasarelas, vamos a eventos y viajecitos de vez en cuando. El último viajecito que tuvimos fue un poquito largo, fue a Japón. Entonces, bienvenidos a todos y arigato gozaimasu. Ojalá llegar a los mil viewers el día de hoy, chiquillos. Muchas gracias por la oportunidad. También a Twitch nos ha elegido para hacer portada este mes. Entonces, pues bueno, es Hochi también. 728 a la verga. Somos 728 viewers, señores. El día de hoy rompemos récord, brother. No mamen, hace un calor de los cojones. Vámonos. Yo lo vi.